reminder, every episode of this podcast premieres live on AMP. So download the app, subscribe to me at Richard Sherman to tune in to all of our shows live.
We know your fans, we know your followers love you, some Seattle Seahawks. I want to start with Seattle. They own 2 first-round picks. They're fresh off a great offseason, free agent additions, building in the trenches, Drummond Jones, Jaron Reed's back, Devin Bush. You get your boy Bobby Wagner back. This team, all of a sudden, they had one glaring deficit, and that was their run defense. They seem to have addressed it. I want to start with their free agent additions. What do you think of Seattle Seahawks offseason thus far?
I think it's been great. I think Bobby Wagner coming back, getting an all-pro middle linebacker back that shouldn't have left in the first place, a leader of your defense back shouldn't have left in the first place, is going to be just phenomenal. It's going to be tremendous for the team. It's going to be tremendous for their poise down the stretch of big games. There's no way to measure his impact on the field and off the field. They addressed the middle of that defense. Of course, I think they're still going to bring back Bruce Irvin. I think they still expect big things out of Mafe and the other pass rushers they got, but they have to address it in the draft. Offensively, I think they're fine. They got your boy K9 in the backfield. They got 2 really reliable, good tackles, Abe Lucas and Charles Cross. I think they believe in both of those guys. They got 2 good receivers on the outside, 2 Pro Bowlers. They got Geno. I think the interior offensive line is a question mark. I think Mike Jackson, opposite of Tariq Woolen, is going to be fine. Jamal Adams is on his way back on the mend, so he should be back in time for the season. So they get reinforcements at that position. And I still think they got to go defense in this number 5 pick. I think they have to go defense. Whether it's Jalen Carter, can you have too many interior D linemen that are great? No, you can't. Or if Will Anderson somehow slips through the cracks, slips past Arizona, I think he's your pick. You got a future great pass rusher in this league, a future 10, 12 sack guy. Tyree Wilson, I've heard rumors about him being there at that pick. I'd rather them trade back a little bit and get him. I don't think he's the number 5 pick in the draft. And with their second pick, I think they got to go defense again. Whether it's corner. I don't think Devin Witherspoon will be there. I don't think Christian Gonzalez will be there. Hodges might be there. Keely Ringo should still be there. But if they want to go that direction, or if they want to go pass rush again, go pass rush twice. He can never have enough of them because that's such a glaring weakness for him.
Well, I just remember the Legion of Boom days. You guys were obviously locked and loaded in the secondary, but let's not forget about what you guys had in the front 4. I mean, you guys had a rotation where it was just persistent. Get after the quarterback. And whether you go DB or you go D-line, I don't think you can go wrong, Rich. I'm with you there. It's, this team, to me, it's funny because you look at this point last season. They traded Russell Wilson. We thought they were headed for a rebuild. Everyone was abandoning the Seattle Seahawks ship. And now all of a sudden, Pete Carroll has leveled this thing out, and they're back on the rise. This team, I truly believe under Geno, the sky's the limit. And if they put together, Rich, another draft class like they had last year, even if it's 75% of the draft class they had last year, this team could do some serious damage in the NFC West and in the NFC as a whole. But Richard, there are huge question marks after Geno Smith's contract's over. Obviously, he's not a young buck anymore. I know he had played his eyes off.
You don't reach, Mitchell. You don't reach early. You need an impact player right now. You want to go to the playoffs again. You want to make that kind of impact again. You don't reach in the draft.
You talked about a guy that you want the Seattle Seahawks to potentially target at 5. Jalen Carter out of Georgia. Obviously, this guy going in to this year was viewed at 1A or 1B. Him and Will Anderson, top dogs on defense. Character is the question with Jalen. He has a serious issue. Let's not make light of it. The situation he went through in January after they won the national title game, resulting in speeding and an unfortunate death of a couple folks on his team, and obviously that leaves him in a serious tough situation mentally. How much of a concern would it be for you to draft him as a GM? Would you have any worries?
Yeah, You got a lot of worries. You got a lot of worries. He was the consensus number one pick for majority of the year. And when you know that, Mitchell, I mean, not saying you got to wrap your life in saran wrap and bubble wrap, but you got to be close. Like, if you racing on the opposite side of traffic at 100 miles an hour and you knew you were the number one pick, Mitchell, they need to study your brain because that is what insanity looks like. And so 100% there are question marks. But this is a National Football League, Mitchell, and I'm sorry if I seem crazy because they will overlook it if the man can play the game, and the man can play the game. So there will need to be an incredible structure around this young man. You cannot let him just, hey, he's going to be a pro and leave him to his own vices. You can't. You got to structure. Hey, it may be somebody living right next to him. You may have to have somebody live with him. Hey, you got meetings. Wake up, get to meetings. Like, babysit this kid because it's insane to think a kid with the understanding I'm going number one would make those decisions, especially you just won a national championship. Everything in your life is going great. Now, if things were going bad, maybe a tragic incident, somebody passed away unexpectedly, mental process, a lot of things on your mind, a lot of things. There's certain things you would understand about that situation. Hey, he's going through a hard time. Everybody's been through a hard time. Your brain isn't functioning totally correct when you're going. He was in awesome times. These were the best of times. And he's making decisions like that. So that leaves a lot of questions. So I'm speaking more about the talent of the human being, a guy who should have gone number one. If people were saying he's falling out of the top 10, I mean, if he falls out of the top 10, it'll say more about how far the league has come because that's not always been this league's MO of, hey, guy's character is questionable, but his play is outstanding. They always have those charts like, hey, does the talent outweigh the concern? Which one? Are you willing to risk your job on it? Which GM is willing to put their stamp on it and change their franchise? And then his pro day was disappointing. Like, you can't have all these question marks and then have a pro day like that. Like, were you tired? You out of shape? Not you.
Yeah. It's the biggest meeting of his life, right? I mean, this is the biggest job interview of his life. And that was concerning. But Richard, we've seen it year after year. I seen like Lyle Collins goes undrafted. Laramie Tunzel slips 12, 13 spots, was considered a top 3 pick just because a gas mask weed bong came out which is 5 minutes before the draft.
A crazy setup. Now he's the highest paid tackle in all of football multiple times over and over because he should have been the number one tackle that year.